Our program tonight is called Digital Media, Fact or Fiction, and the workshop facilitators are two of AUW Naperville area branch members. Brionna Belcher is one of our newer members. She works in our branch programs committee and is also a communication teams member. She's our Eventbrite registrar and our digital image designer. Elaine Fisher is a longtime member of our branch. She has been a former branch president. She is the branch Facebook post coordinator. She's a retired educator and a volunteer leadership trainer. So welcome everybody and enjoy our program on digital media.
Thanks, Becky. First, we'd like to look at why it's important to focus on digital media, whether it's fact or fiction. Then we're going to look at some examples of what is fake news or misinformation. Then we are going to identify AI-generated posts and images, and then AI-generated videos. Next, we will talk about ways you can counter any misinformation that you see online. And we'll go through a variety of resources to identify fake news. And finally, be aware of online scams. So we're going to give you a lot of information and resources. So why is this so important? Lies travel faster than truth. And you know this from being online. A lie can travel halfway around the world before the truth can get its boots on. This was known in 1730 as well as 1940 and our current day. So why do we care? As educated women and perhaps parents, we want to only share accurate information in our own posts. And we also want to prevent the spread of propaganda or misinformation by not sharing false information. We don't want to mislead or endanger others. And when we see it, we want to disrupt disinformation. So here's how it might impact us. In 2022, it was reported seniors are more likely to share Facebook fake news. Then in 2023, senior citizens become victims of scams. Over $3.4 billion was lost in 2023. Gen Z and millennials are likely to trust social media news more. This was reported in 2024. And today, AI-generated audio can realistically imitate family members asking for money. So of course, if you get one of those calls, you're going to hang up and call the person directly. Don't fall for it. A YouGov.poll says younger Americans perform worse than older Americans on the misinformation test. And we're going to ask you to do this test. The misinformation susceptibility poll, they found in the results that the older or more experience you have, the better you do on this test. So we'd like to see how our audience does on this test. And the link to the test is at the bottom of the slide, and it should be going in the chat as we speak. When you click on that link, you're going to go to a page where you need to scroll down, and you will be invited to take part in a study. And you have to go to the bottom of that and click I consent. And I would like you to take the 20-question version of the quiz. You'll have a choice. There's an 18-question quiz and a 20-question quiz. So go ahead and do that. It'll open another window, and you'll have to find your way back to the Zoom window afterwards. But once you complete the quiz, you will get a score and a response like you're seeing on the screen now. This example got 16 right out of 20. So their response was good try. If you're able to recognize all of the misinformation, you would get 20 out of 20. And once you take the quiz, put your score in the chat. Let's see how we're doing.
Do we have some scores coming
All
in the
right.
chat?
Good job. 18 out of 20. 19. After all, this is a group of educated women. While you're finishing, let's go ahead. Global consulting firm Capgemini shows nearly 3/4 of images shared on social media in 2023 were generated using AI, with technology becoming increasingly adept at creating convincing crowd scenes. Manipulating visuals has never been easier. With this comes both a creative opportunity and a societal hazard. Hani Farid, who gave a TED Talk, he's an expert in computer science and evaluating and authenticating fake images and videos. He sounded this alarm that we're in a global war for truth, which has profound consequences for individuals, institutions, societies, and our democracy. We're living in a world where social media dominates everything, and we have advanced AI. With the rise of digital cameras and photo editing software, it becomes easier and easier to manipulate reality. Now with generative AI, anyone can create an image of anything, anytime, anywhere at the touch of a button. And we live in an environment on social media which is largely unregulated. And it even actively promotes lies and conspiracies, because the more alarming and engaging online posts are, the more attention it gets and the more sharing. And that is kind of the whole end goal of social media. So we are indeed in a global war for truth.
All right, next we're going to talk about spotting fake news. This is something that I care a lot about. I have a journalism background, and there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there. So in the chat, put which one you think is fake news, number 1 or 2. Americans are drowning in a tsunami of ignorance. There's a conspiracy at the highest levels to replace all knowledge with propaganda and misinformation. Or it was reported that more than 80% of middle schoolers didn't understand that the phrase sponsored content meant advertising, according to a Stanford University report. So put 1 or 2. Which one is fake? Yes, so unfortunately it is number 1 that's fake, which means number 2 is real. More than 80% of middle schoolers did not understand what sponsored content was, and they thought that it was factual information. So that's one of the easier ones, and what we're going to get into in the rest of the presentation is a little bit trickier. Starting with our next slide here. This was on X, formerly Twitter. A baby has died of whooping cough in Kentucky, becoming the 3rd child to die of it in the past 12 months across the state. Is this fake news? Obviously, this tugs on your heartstrings. It's emotional, it's alarming, and you have to kind of question, is this real or not? I mean, look, this is just a tweet. They don't seem to have a source other than WLWT.com. We'll go to the next slide, and it's actually factual. If you were interested in that and you looked it up, the CDC has confirmed that whooping cough cases have elevated in the US, with 3 infants dying in Kentucky. So that's a great example where something could be alarming and emotional, and it might be false, it might be true. In this case, unfortunately, it was true. What about this meme? This is a common way to see fake news online. It's not a written post, and it's certainly not like a news post or a news story, but a meme, so handmade by somebody. And this says, insanity is when illegal refugees get $3,874 a month in federal assistance, while Social Security checks average $1,200 a month. So go ahead and put in the chat if you think that this is fake or factual. All right. And this is an interesting case where it's mostly false, not entirely false. Each refugee in Canada does receive $3,874 a month from the government under the Resettlement Assistance Program. But if you read that and you live in America, and obviously immigration is a hot topic right now, you might not know that this actually doesn't apply to us. This is mostly false. Here's another one. This graphic looks great. It looks really well made. Aboutlawsuits.com sounds very professional, sounds very serious. And this is about Tylenol and if it causes autism. This is another hot topic in the news lately. Here we've got all kinds of sciencey words. It's depleting your protective antioxidants, it's altering your immune system, disrupting normal hormone production. And if you saw this, this is concerning, something we all care about, reproductive health. This is very concerning, but if you investigate, there is no evidence that Tylenol causes autism. And this is confirmed by the president of the College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, who echoed the conclusion that there's not a single reputable study that has successfully concluded that the use of Tylenol in any trimester of pregnancy causes neurodevelopmental disorders in children. So another great example of why it's important to do your research. No matter how well made the post looks or who they're claiming put it out, it's always great to just double check. Here's another one. This meme, not as pretty to look at. Got some bright colors, but again, something very serious. 3 Republican lies about welfare, and they're going as far as claiming one is a lie and one is a fact. And then their source is facebook.com/the snarky pundit. So not a very reputable source, not sure who that is. And if I saw this, what I would want to ask myself is this factual? What is the purpose of this post? Is it politically motivated? Who is their source? And how can I verify their claims? These are the 5 things you want to always ask yourself whenever you're seeing a meme or a post, anything online, before you share it, before you get worried, stop and ask yourself, what's the purpose? Who wrote it? Is it factual? And verify all of that. And there's always a way to verify, and we'll get into that later in the rest of the slides. Here's a funny comic about why fake news multiplies. So she says, "No, Dad, that's fake news." And the dad says, "But how can it be fake if it says exactly what I think?" And I think at some time we may have all fallen victim to this, where we see something online that perfectly describes our opinion or the way we feel, and we just resonate with it so much that we don't necessarily check and see if it's true. And like Elaine said, misinformation spreads like wildfire, way faster than the truth can. So just a funny little comic, but unfortunately, this is our reality. Here's another one. Is this fake news? Put in the chat if you think this is real or fake. And it says, the state of Kentucky is requiring women to submit doctor's statements monthly, indicating whether or not they are pregnant. I care a lot about reproductive health, so certainly if I read that and I didn't stop and think about it, this is definitely something that I would feel inclined to share. It's very emotional, certainly tugs on my heartstrings. And the source is a TikTok from June 2022. I'm on TikTok a lot, so this is definitely something that I could see. But when you look at the facts, while the legislation was proposed, it was proposed jokingly by a Democratic lawmaker in 2019 to express her opposition to a bill banning abortions, and it was never seriously considered. However, the only 2 abortion clinics in Kentucky did halt the procedure on June 24th, 2022, after Roe v. Wade was overturned. So, a very serious situation, but a not so serious proposed amendment. And taken out of context, that is very harsh and misleading. So it's always important to double check.
Now, here is a guide to escape fiction or fake news. The E stands for evidence. Do the facts hold up? S is for the source. Who made this and can we trust them? C is for context. What is the big picture? A, audience. Who is the intended audience? P is for purpose. Why was this made? And E, execution, how is the information presented? That could be where they try to appeal to your emotions or catch your attention in some graphic way. And this is from Adelphi University, their library, well, LibGuides. You have the source at the bottom and in the chat. So this is really an overall guide to try and screen out fake news and misinformation. Another helpful resource is this media bias chart. This is from adfontasmedia.com, and they have the more reliable media and centrist media at the top in the middle, and then those that are on the left are to the left, and those that lean to the right are on the right. So you can see easily by looking for a news source whether their bias is to the right or the left, or whether they're pretty central and they're more reliable. So check out where your news source lands on this chart. They also have a topic of the week that you can sign up for. And this one is about the 2 National Guard members that were shot near the White House. The more reliable coverage was in the Army Times and the Washington Post. But you also have on the right Fox News, and on the left Alternet. So you can see how this topic falls on the bias chart. Another topic was related to the Somali immigrants, and this was covered by the centrist news source ABC and Reuters. But it was also covered by the New Republic on the left and the Western Journal on the right. So you can see the same news event covered by different news sources and how their bias treats that topic. So you get one of these every week. They also have a media bias chart for Substacks. So you might find that interesting as well. Another media bias resource is from biasly.com. And this has all of the different media sources in the little circles. And when you click on one of the circles, it gives you the history of that news source and their bias. Brionna? Okay, so Bloomberg News was founded in 1981, and it was initially providing financial data and analytics to businesses. But they are pretty centrist. They're 10% center leading, so they're pretty reliable. But you can click on any of these circles and get that kind of insight into that news source. Ground.news is another good source to evaluate your news event coverage. It shows event coverage from different sources, left, right, and center. So it allows you to read between the lines of some of the media bias. And if you're getting your news online and it's being given to you with an algorithm, this enables you to see the bigger picture. And they have social media, a website, and you can sign up for their newsletter. This is part of their homepage. They have a summary of top news. And then to the right, they have a feature called Blind Spot. If you click on that, then you get topics that might have been skipped by media sources that lean to the left, or media sources that lean to the right. So it's helpful to give you information that you might have missed if you are always going to your same news sources.
Next, we're going to discuss identifying fake images. And this is something that I was very interested in. I think when AI images started popping up, you could very easily tell they were AI. And as AI has gotten more advanced, that's not necessarily the case anymore. So this first slide is just kind of discussing why that's powerful. The expressive power of political imagery, regardless of the truth of its message, has long been understood by politicians. President Harrison's log cabin and hard cider campaign symbols represented him as a man of the people and helped him win the election of 1840. So even back in 1840, the power of your image and the way that you're understood by people was understood that that was monumental and it could help you get really far. So this next portion is interactive. We have some images on the screen, and I'd like you to put in the chat image 1 or 2, which one is fake. So one of these frogs is fake. Go ahead and put in the chat if you think it is 1 or 2, 1 being the left and 2 being the right. All right, and I see some answers coming in. Okay. So if you said that the frog on the left, frog number 1, was fake, then you would be correct. And once they give these little tips, it's kind of easier to see the differences, but you can see that the frog on the left has really simple spots compared to the complex spots on the right. And so that would be one indicator that the frog on the left is AI generated. And we've got another one. So historical events, images of historical events can be created through AI as well. Which image of the Titanic is AI? 1 or 2? All right. So again, the image on the left was AI generated. And so this is pointing out that incorrect masts and chimneys are an indicator. I don't know a lot about boats, so that would not be as big of a giveaway for me. But one thing that I do recognize is the inconsistent lighting. So in the photo on the left, it actually looks like the sun is setting on the left, but also somehow hitting the right side of the boat. And AI really struggles with light and shadows, so that would be a good giveaway that it's not a real photo. Here's another one. AI has gotten much better at replicating people. So here we have 2 photos of kids doing art projects, and one of them is fake. So which one do you think is the AI generated image? And I'll admit I got this one wrong. So take your time. All right. If you said that the photo on the right was AI generated, then you are correct. This one was really hard for me, but the photo on the left, their hands look great. The photo on the right, you can see that the little girl in the blue shirt, one of her arms just kind of disappears into the table, and then her other arm comes out of nowhere with no sleeve and is holding a very large paintbrush or pencil. So AI still kind of struggles with limbs and small details like that, things that people would notice, fingers, hands. So that's something that you can look at in photos to kind of see if you think it's real or not. Here's another one. We've got the women's suffrage movement, and one of these photos is AI generated. Go ahead and take your pick. Is it number 1 or number 2? Which one is fake? All right. And while they're both convincing, you can see the photo on the right. It has illegible text on their signs as well as blurred hair. So again, AI struggling with those details. And then you'll also notice that some of them are not holding the signs. The signs seem to be just kind of magically floating in front of them. So that would be the giveaway for this one, that the photo on the right is not real and the photo on the left is real. Down at the bottom, Britannica Education, quiz, real or AI. There are more quiz questions if you're interested in doing more. I would challenge you to look it up and continue to test yourself. That's it for this portion of the quiz. So we'll keep moving on. And again, the links will be either in the chat or we'll send out these slides afterwards. So no worries, you don't need to rush to write the link down. We'll get it to you. Here is a very real example of AI images in our news. So the photo on the left was actually posted by the White House, and it's not real. The photo on the right is the real photo. This is a protester being arrested, and you can see that on the left, the White House, or whoever posted this for the White House, has actually darkened this woman's skin and edited her face to appear like she's distraught, she's crying, whereas you can see on the right, she's very serious and she is not crying. So this is one of those situations where it's kind of hard if you were just questioning who posted this, what's the source, can I trust them? You know, you might think, yeah, I can trust the White House, this photo's got to be real. But sometimes you just have to question that. And in this situation, the photo was not real. So I think that this was a harsh lesson for me, for sure, that really you do have to second guess everything you see online before you share it. Don't take it at face value. Definitely do a deeper dive. Videos can also easily be faked. This is a screenshot from a video, but it was a TikTok post claiming that this was Hurricane Melissa hitting Jamaica. And as you can see in the video, I mean, there's lots of destruction and it looks awful. This is actually a video of a tornado in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So while it's still a tornado and this is not an AI generated video, what they're claiming it is not true. So sometimes the video or the picture, there might not be signs that it's fake because it might indeed be real, but the context does matter. And in this situation, the TikTok post was incorrect. Here's another social media post. 30,000 students taking action for multiracial democracy and against ICE. And this is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And this is just posted by someone named Chris Crass. He has no source, and here's a photo. I don't know if he posted the photo or if he took the photo or someone else took it and he just posted it, but this should make you stop and wonder, is this a real crowd? And just by doing some digging, we can easily confirm through a CNN news report that there were indeed 30,000 students absent from school in Charlotte, North Carolina, protesting. So this is a screen grab of the news report. And it's stuff like this. It takes a little bit of your time, but if you're going to share something about this, definitely research it so that you can feel a lot more confident in sharing it, and we can continue to battle misinformation. Here are some key questions to ask yourself when you're seeing an image online. What's in the image? What message is it trying to convey? What elements are in the background and foreground? Who or what are the main subjects? This is an important one. Where did you find it or how did you access it? And who is being credited as the source? Can you trust that source? What might their intentions be behind sharing this image? Who is the intended audience of the image? And what accompanying information like text comes with the image? So all 10 of these questions might not give off warning bells when you see a photo, but there's a high likelihood that some of them will. And then a great way to see if your photos are what they seem to be is by doing a reverse image search. So you can reverse image search anything through Google. You go to Google Images, and then instead of typing what you want to see, you can upload a screenshot or a photo. So Definitely don't go downloading random photos off the internet, but you can take a screenshot, upload it, and then it can pull up where that photo was used elsewhere on the internet. You can also do a metadata analysis. So this can provide insights like the date, location, camera settings, and copyright details. This would be important for instances like the tornado, where they were claiming that the damage was hurricane damage from a different place. Looking into the metadata of where was this picture taken, what date was it taken, things like that are very important. And mobile users can also do this through apps like Google Photos, or even in the Photos app, accessing image details through menu options. Here's another one. Using the tools that we just got in the last couple of slides, is this AI or is it real? And this is actually a photo that I saw on Facebook during the hurricanes this year. All right. So this is not real. And it's very convincing. You can see she's got all 5 fingers. The puppy looks great. Very cute puppy, very cute little girl. And a terrible situation. It looks like they're being rescued from either a hurricane or some floodwaters. But unfortunately, this is not real. It's entirely made up. And this was circulating online, like I said, during hurricane season. And so this is one where I had to stop and ask myself, why is this being shared? What are their intentions? What's the political gain? And then by putting this into some of the AI detectors that we'll talk about next, you can see that this is not real. So this is one of the tools that you can use to detect AI. It's aiornot.com. And you do get only a certain amount per month. You get 10 photos a month for free, or even 5,000 words. So if you see something online that you think was written by AI, you can put it in there and it'll tell you if it's AI or not. This is what the site looks like. So like I said, take a screenshot of whatever image you might think would be AI, and then upload it to the little box there that says drag and drop or upload your media here. And it will tell you the likelihood of that being AI, and it can even point out why it thinks it is. Same with text, you would just click text and then paste your text and it will tell you. So you do have to make a free account just so you can keep track of how many for free you're getting each month. But you do get 10 images for free. So that's a great tool, something that I actually use pretty frequently, and I would highly recommend.
So now we'd like to have another quiz. This is from the American Psychological Association. They have a misinformation course, and you see the link at the bottom of the slide. We were going to have you do this, or we were going to do it together. But they have graphics, flashing lights, music. It's very amusing. You might want to do it afterwards, but we're going to go through it on the slides. So let's see the first item in the quiz. Elon Musk considers melting down the Statue of Liberty to make series of limited edition Cybertrucks. Real or misinformation? I think we probably have figured out misinformation. Good thinking. Although it looks like it came from a real news source, this is an example of satire. It was posted to social media as a joke. Next. This one is a quote from Einstein. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. What do you think? Is that a real quote or misinformation? Well, you might have said, maybe that's true. And then we would have had this answer. You've been tricked. the quote is falsely attributed to Albert Einstein in this meme. Putting a quote in a false context is an example of common misinformation. I know we've all seen many things attributed, for example, to Abraham Lincoln. And I'm sure you've seen others. So let's look at the next one. And this one's going to be easy for us educators. Donald Trump appoints former WWF executive Linda McMahon to be in charge of the Department of Education. It sounds crazy. Is it misinformation? No, it's real. This tweet is actual factual information. How would this statement feel without the video? Does the video change your perception? Next. The U.S. Post, you have a USPS parcel being cleared due to the detection of an invalid zip code address. The parcel is being held up, temporarily detained. Please confirm the zip code address information in the link within 24 hours. All right, I'm seeing fake, false. Great. This is misinformation. You are correct. This text is a scam. Whoever sent this is an imposter, and it's likely they're trying to get your personal information. Next. 600 million years ago, fossils of tiny humanoids were found in Antarctica. And you have these images of the fossils. Is it real or fake? Fake, right. Someone decided to manipulate a photo to make it look like tiny skeletons were fossilized, but it's not real. It's so easy to alter a photo seamlessly, so be careful. Next. Niantic uses Pokemon Go player data to build AI navigation system. Is that real or misinformation? It is real. This is factual information. How does this information challenge or confirm what you already know or feel about this topic? Next. This adorable polar bear was rescued and now has a second chance at life. Is it real or misinformation? You're right, it's fake. You have real intelligence. This video, while cute, is an example of a deep fake. The whole video was fabricated using AI. This type of misinformation can be difficult to detect because it looks real, but you might be suspicious because it's too cute and it really gets your attention. And it might be an example of what's known as clickbait. They're trying to get you to share it. Next. And here's our score. We did that one about Einstein's quote, but otherwise we identified all the misinformation. So try that on your own and you can see all the bells and whistles if you do it on your own computer. And this is kind of a reminder of why this is all so important. The frequency of seeing false or misleading information online among adults in the US in May of 2025. 46% said they see it every day, but only 21% said they see it weekly. There are a few people under, I would say, the misimpression. 2% say they never see misinformation, but there's 35% that are not sure. So they need to take the quiz, get more familiar with how to identify misinformation. So once we've identified misinformation, we want to disrupt that information when we see it online. We don't want to share it. And if we have time, we want to post a valid post with the facts. This is a Truth Social post that's obviously false. And we're going to look at how you can counter this false information. The first rule is don't amplify any disinformation or lies. You want to be sure that you're not spreading it among all your friends. If they didn't see it in their feed, you don't want to help the person who's lying spread disinformation. So if you don't have time to do your own post, the best response would be don't respond at all. The second rule, if you're going to create a post, always use links to credible news sources, like we identified in the media bias chart. You want to use a reliable source, and having a graphic with your post is going to get more attention. So that's two things you want to do. Next. Now, another strategy for creating a post is using something called a truth sandwich. And you begin by something that people agree on, a shared truth or value where we have common ground, and then call out the lie or the bad actor who's proposing the lie. In other words, who are the villains? And then at the end of your post, you're going to state the truth or the facts, and you may indicate your inspiration and desired vision for the future. Here's another way of looking at a truth sandwich, courtesy of Indivisible Truth Brigade. You begin with the truth to open minds through underlying shared values. In other words, looking for common ground. Then you question, you prompt source and self-checking by asking who's behind this message, why do they want me angry, whatever relates to that disinformation, you want to raise those questions. And then closing with truth, a reason to remember, a vision, a dream of a better future. Now, here are a few examples. We teach our children values, including telling the truth. But a few loud people are trying to eliminate historical truth and intimidate our teachers. We will show them that we value education and trust our teachers. We all want the freedom to read books of our own choice, but some individuals are banning books from our schools and public libraries and taking away this freedom. Our children deserve to keep the freedom to choose the books they want to read. Most of us would agree there's nothing more personal than pregnancy. But some are opposing abortion using misleading and inaccurate modern science. We need more support for pregnant women and less disinformation about people's private healthcare choices. Another example from the Truth Brigade, Illinois. The First Amendment is simple. The government cannot censor free speech, but the current regime is abusing its power, silencing voices, banning ideas, and deciding who gets to speak, write, or even joke. Free speech is not up for negotiation. If we don't stand together now, we risk losing it forever. Silence is not an option. America flourishes when all voices are heard. And you note that you want an image with these messages if you can find one that relates to it. So now we're going to look at resources for checking the facts. You want to look for previous news on the same topic. Also, you can go to the source and check the trustworthiness. You can look at that bias chart. Is that news source leaning to the left or the right, or are they in the middle and reliable? You can read what others say about the news topic. And we're going to look at all of these different websites that are resources where we can check the facts. Snopes, politifact.com, factcheck.org, ground.news, and debunkbot. First, looking at one from Snopes, FBI Director Kash Patel and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi spent nearly $1 million in overtime pay for personnel to redact the files related to the case of late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This is true, according to Snopes. The FBI released files to Bloomberg investigative reporter following a civil lawsuit under the Freedom of Information Act. These files indicated the agency had spent at least $851,344 the week of March 17th, 2025 in overtime pay for 934 agents mobilized to process and redact the Epstein files. Here's another post from X that shows a picture of Trump dozing while Marco Rubio speaks to him directly next to him. And according to Snopes, this is true. Video clips authentically show U.S. President Trump falling asleep during a White House cabinet meeting on December 2nd, 2025. PolitiFact is another one that started out checking political comments, but currently they are pretty much checking all types of claims. On the left, you have a claim in a newsletter about Thanksgiving turkey prices being at their lowest point since 2000. And you can see all three of these were rated false by PolitiFact. True Social post in the middle, the highest poll numbers of my political career. And on the right, a post to X about 1,400 criminal illegal aliens that right now are in North Carolina and Charlotte's jails that they refuse to turn over to ICE law enforcement. And that is false as well. And here are three more. You can see they cover a variety of topics. The SAVE Act, which is very important for women. This comment, as long as you have a real ID, it should be easy for you to register to vote. That is mostly false. Women's names, of course, might have changed, and your birth certificate and your real ID could have different names. The middle one from X is about Washington, D.C. protests against Elon Musk being staged and paid, bussed in, scripted, clocked out. That's false. And then the one on the right, replacing Pride Month with Veterans Month in honor of those who served. This was on Facebook, and that is also false. Factcheck.org is another good resource. They debunk false information on social media. And at the end of the year, they identify the whoppers, the biggest lies of 2025. So that's interesting to check out. We were working on this presentation in November, December, and so this came to my attention. And they also have kind of a database of questions and the answers. You can ask Fact Check to answer your question, and you can put in the question like this one about citizens, US citizens receiving a stimulus or tariff-based check of $2,000. And the answer, you can see no checks are being issued. We would have heard about that in the news since then. But they have a database of all the questions that everyone has asked and the answers. So that's an interesting thing to look at. Even if you don't put your own question in, you can scan through things that have been submitted before. Debunkbot.com is another very interesting resource. Using AI for something good. And the conspiracy thing that I put in was the reporting that immigrants in Ohio were eating cats and dogs. And it reported that it's totally false, but then it gives you the research, what they found when they looked at this conspiracy theory. And so they look at the story's origin and then how it progressed and how it was debunked, and then the local authorities talking about it. So you get the research work of the debunk bot. So you have all the background on whatever theory or biased news that you have put in to this chat bot. So this is just a summary of the fact-checking resources that you have available, plus Wikipedia, we all know about. It's a nonprofit kind of crowdsourced information source. And so there might be a little misinformation, but it's quickly pointed out by someone else and corrected. So Wikipedia is generally pretty reliable as well. And in the last part of our presentation, I wanted to focus on scam romances. This is not only a growing trend, but women reported 4 times more often being scammed than men. So this is of particular interest to us as women. So you can see, according to the Federal Trade Commission, since 2015, the number of romance scams has more than doubled. And Americans lost $143 million in 2018 alone. And each loss, the median reported loss from a romance scam is about $2,600. And I don't know too many people that are ready to give away that much money. Beware of fake friends on Facebook. This is something that you will see on Facebook. Use a lot of caution when you accept a friend request. Remember that profiles can be stolen, just like emails can be hacked. And generally, you'll see a nice looking man, maybe in a military uniform. And if you do that reverse image source, you might find out whose picture that really is. It generally is not the person that's putting this on Facebook. It could be the person on the right who's in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, and they are looking to scam people to get money. And once they do that, they move on to the next person. They're looking for vulnerable women who might be lonely and fall for a fake profile. This is an example of one from Facebook. As I mentioned, the pictures of the men are attractive, they dress well, but you'll notice they only have a few friends and they might have military service. Often they have two first names as their name, Duncan Robert or Robert Duncan. It's like kind of a red flag that they want to create a name that's sort of generic. And they have a connection to a foreign country. They're usually overseas. And they're single or divorced, of course. So these are signs of an online dating scam or a romance scam. As soon as you meet them within a day, they're professing love. They claim to be from the US, but they're overseas for some reason. And very soon they will ask for money, or they try to lure you off of the site where you met onto some other network where you are not familiar with. And they claim to need money for an emergency or hospital bills or travel to come to visit you. Do not fall for this. So I wanted to be sure you knew about that. So in summary, we've tried to talk about what is fake news and disinformation, why it's so important to recognize it, and how to react and take action against it, how to help prevent its spread. And we've given you a lot of resources to help you identify AI-created images, to check facts in the news, to